live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
We sure are. Good evening. This is Paul Cooney, live from Glasgow, the Gorbals in Glasgow, just half a mile away from the city centre. And with me tonight, Andy Walker, the Celtic and Scotland legend, and the Rangers and Scotland legend, Jamie Murphy, with us as well. Both of them with wry smells. I'm not sure why when I said that a moment or two ago. So the countdown's on. 12 days to go in the window. But it's European week as well. We have it here in the notes as El Preview, and I thought it should have been Il Preview in Celtic's case because it's Italy they are, but it's of course Europa League. Celtic on their way to Bologna for the match tomorrow night. Rangers welcoming Ludogorets, who are in town for the game tomorrow night at Ibrox. The headlines tonight. So finally, as we told you last night, yep, we picked it up on the Sun late in the programme, Celtic finally look to have a striker, Tomas Čvančara, who is in Scotland just now, we believe. He'll be unveiled soon on loan. Andy, what do you know about the Czech striker?
Not a great deal other than what we have read about him. 6'3", he obviously gives you that physical presence, which I think Celtic need, and I think Martin O'Neill likes to identify in a lot of the positions that he wants in the team. But Celtic have been desperate for a striker for pretty much a year since Kyogo left.
Almost to the day.
And then Adamida leaving, not being replaced. It's been a real bone of contention among so many Celtic supporters. And I think the surprise is that it's taken this long to get someone in. And obviously we will judge him when we see him and how he handles Scottish football.
His parent club is Borussia Mönchengladbach, of course. Craig Moore, our own Craig, who'll be back with us soon. He was there some years ago, but it's not been a good year for him, really. Jamie, he's moved around, but undoubtedly, with his Czech caps, he can play.
He's obviously got quality. That's why Celtic are bringing him in. Yes, it's took a bit longer than people probably wanted, but if he comes in and does the business and scores goals, I'm sure everyone will be delighted.
And Andy, Maswanhise, we were speaking about him last night, the Motherwell striker. You were both at Motherwell, and that's not ruled out yet, I don't think. I don't know for sure, but you could imagine it's Čvančara on loan, maybe Maswanhise signed in the next few days.
Paul, there's so much still to play for. I mean, I know that Celtic have got a lot of criticism, and a lot of it has been deserved, but they're not out of things. I mean, 6 points behind Hearts. They obviously play them this weekend. I'd be amazed if they don't have at least, Čvančara playing at some point at the weekend. They need a lift. They need a boost. I think it'll give the dressing room a bit of a lift. I think it'll give the supporters a bit of a lift. But you need results. You can't afford to let Hearts get 9 points clear at this stage.
He's way up there in the scoring charts. What do you make of Maswanhise, Jamie?
A very good player who's had a very good season so far. I'm not too sure about his career before being at Motherwell, whether it's been a success or not, but I think Motherwell fans would be desperate to keep him. It's particularly until the end of the year. You know, they're pushing high in the table, top six, possible Europa place up for grabs. They'll definitely be wanting to keep him.
And of course, this time last year they held out for money for Lennon Miller, and it could have gone wrong for them, Andy, as you know. If anything had happened to the young player in the late winter, springtime, then he wouldn't have been the commodity that he was this time last year when Celtic wanted him.
Yeah, Motherwell, I think, cashed in. Celtic weren't prepared to pay the going rate. And, you know, I think Celtic have profited from players. They've maybe squeezed an extra few million out of some clubs. I'm thinking of Jota, I'm thinking of Matt Røhl. And sometimes you need to pay over the odds.
Just the 25 million?
Just the 25 million. I'm not sure that will be part of any negotiation. But sometimes you need to pay over the odds. And given what's at stake here, a three-horse race for the title, maybe Celtic's turn to pay a wee bit extra.
And you would imagine maybe with a signing, there'll also be another lone player coming in. I think that's the ambition this week ahead of the game with Hearts. And Hearts, of course, missing Lon Shankland out for 8 weeks. Really bad news for him and for Hearts. And Cammy Devlin. So Celtic fans, what do you want to see in the next few days? 0808 17 17 700. Jamie, your old club Rangers, they've been really active. We've spoken about the new players who are in. What about the result tomorrow night? It's easy to say Ludogorets, Rangers are out of the Europa League, but you made a great point when you came into the studio an hour ago. They're looking for vital points for the coefficient, especially if Rangers win the league for the Champions League next season.
Absolutely, there's still things to play for. I mean, I know it's Olympiacos who Rangers are competing with. indirectly for these coefficient points. So the 2 games left, they'll be wanting to win the both of them, so that there's no doubt. I know Olympiacos can go above them if they beat Ajax next week, so they've still got to do their part. They've still got to go away and win and take these games seriously.
Andy, it's massive for Rangers because, you know, the pressure's been off them in a way. Nothing was expected of Rangers this season because of the dreadful start. But they've quietly moved up. They're second top of the table. Still in the Cup. We'll speak about the Cup and who they might play in a moment or two. But they've quietly gone under the radar.
Yeah, I must say I ruled them out. When I looked at Rangers on a weekly basis, obviously the results were poor, but even when they were winning, they were still giving away so many chances. And this is all down to the manager. Danny Røhl has come in and he's really got a bit extra out of so many players. The fact that Rangers as a club have been really busy in the transfer market almost as soon as the window was open, I think it tells you that they are very serious about trying to make the best possible attempt at giving the manager what he wants in order to try and get that title back. And
there could be more signings, maybe a loan. Dan Neil has been mentioned at Sunderland. I know he's been playing again, and also other clubs want him, but you rate him, Jamie?
Yeah, and particularly last year I thought it was excellent. Yeah. He's maybe found it hard to come by this year with new signings and Xhaka coming in obviously at Sunderland, so if he's looking for game time, it's definitely one that Rangers should be looking at, which I'm sure they are. So they're doing well this transfer window. I'm saying they're doing well. It looks as if they're doing well. They've still to perform on the pitch, but you can't accuse Rangers of not trying to win the league.
And Skov Olsen, there's been a lot said about him, Andy, but as a football lover, you're looking forward to see somebody of his quality and hope that he can produce it at Rangers.
Yeah, you always want the league just to have a bit of a shake-up. Yeah, fresh players, fresh talent to look at and what effect it will have on the team. Everyone has looked at Hearts and their level of performance since the start of the season. They're the ones who've been they've looked pretty comfortable being at the top of the table, but now that you've mentioned those 2 injuries, if you'd asked me who are Hearts' 2 most effective players up until now, I would have said Devlin and Shankland in that order. And the fact that they're missing both of them, it's another huge test for the Hearts.
Rangers fans, what are you thinking ahead of tomorrow night? And also the run-in now, just 16 games to go. It's remarkable, the season is flying in. We're going to talk about the Cup in a moment or two because, in fact, I'll tell you, Airdrie against St Mirren, these are the TV games. Friday night, February the 6th on BBC Scotland. Saturday, Celtic Dundee 5:30, and the same night 7:30 Premier Sports, Aberdeen against Motherwell. And then Sunday, well, at the moment it's Rangers against Stranraer, 2 o'clock Premier Sports. But of course there's now a controversy. There's going to be a panel looking at it. It went to penalties last night, Stranraer in Queen's Park, and everyone scored. And then the Stranraer keeper, the young keeper in on loan, Lyndon Tass, made a brilliant save, and at the moment Stranraer are through. But of course there's controversy because he wasn't in the squad. He just came on loan yesterday from Hearts. Jamie, what's the situation?
Yeah, it's going to be a really harsh one, I think, on Stranraer. You know, there's all sorts of rules, cup competitions, different registrations, that kind of thing, and it looks as if obviously they've broke one of the rules. Now they're arguing that it's an emergency loan. They've only had 1 goalkeeper, so they needed another one. So they'll have their time in court, as it will. I think it's next Wednesday, maybe, the tribunal.
Right. I mean, it's going to be worth a couple of $100 grand, whether it's Stranraer or Queen's Park. I mean, just this is a game where you can split the gate, and it's going to be worth a lot of money to Stranraer if they win their appeal.
Transformational. I mean, for both teams, Stranraer top of League One and going... Sorry, no, that was Stenhousemuir. But Stranraer, it would change their season and a couple of seasons maybe.
I was going to say
absolutely.
It might change the next 2 or 3 seasons, might help them just survive in a much better place.
Stenhousemuir, as we know, are through. They play Falkirk, and that's on BBC Scotland at 7:30. And there is an asterisk against the Rangers game. It could be Stranraer or it could be Queen's Park. But well done to Stenny, because you're under pressure this week in the predictions, Andy, because your old teammate Peter Grant, he said Stenhousemuir were going to beat Morton, and he was right.
I'm so glad he's come good. He's had a lot of attempts at it, but he got one right. And let's see what happens this weekend.
For you, Jamie, last weekend, how's the injury? I know you came off, and your manager in the defeat at Tannadice said, well, we were in trouble then. We didn't say those words, but when they lost you then at half-time, things were tougher.
That was nice of him.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
No, a little injury I've been carrying for a couple of weeks, and it just went too far a wee bit at the weekend. So hopefully we'll be fit, but we'll see.
Because you've got a big run back in Glasgow against second top Partick Thistle this weekend.
Yeah, big game. Thistle are a really good side. They've done really well so far this season. Pushing towards it. They want to win the league. They're pushing towards the top. We are kind of on their tails, so it'll be an interesting one.
08 17 17 700. Who's your tip for the Scottish Cup? Andy, we did say last week, is there anyone in there who you think you might go for?
I went for Hibs, didn't I?
Oh, you did, of course. That's right. Yeah.
So I'm dead already. I went for
Dunfermline now.
I went for Motherwell in the League Cup, and they did well. Got to the semis, but Hibs fell at the first hurdle. That to me was the biggest shock of the weekend, Dunfermline winning that one.
It sure was. And well done to Neil Lennon. Big boost for him, wasn't it? Been a tough time for him, obviously, in recent weeks, Jamie, but my goodness, that's quite a result for Dunfermline. Proud history in the Scottish Cup in decades gone past. And look at the crowd that was at the game.
This always had a great crowd, to be fair, Dunfermline. Whenever we played them this season, they've got one of the highest crowds in the Championship. They're a good side. They're a club that, when I was a kid, were always in the SPL. So I'm sure that's where they're aiming to get back to. Now, can a cup run give them the confidence to do that? It might do. But in the short term, I think it's great for them to be pushing on in the cup.
08 17 17 700. Who is going to go all the way to the cup final? Some of the other headlines today: the Falkirk boss John McGlynn. People are noticing what he's doing. He's been around for quite some time. He's got Falkirk from the third tier, second tier, as we all know now, top 6 in the Premiership, and he's a leading candidate for the vacancy at Pittodrie. Andy, could you see him, well, 1, be the target, and 2, move?
I can see both. I totally understand why he's a target, given what he has achieved in the last few years. I think he's got a reputation of, just doing some good work. And it's nice to see someone who has made such a huge impact at Falkirk. I think everyone thought they would be involved in the bottom 2, bottom 3 places maybe. But they have been very comfortable already in the top half of the table, and they won't want to give that up. So I don't see them being involved in the bottom 6 at all, and I can understand why he's a target. And I see that Jens Bertolascu, maybe a potential Celtic managerial target. You see what he has done with a modest group of players, a club with very modest resources. Could he make the step up to Celtic? He certainly made the step up to Motherwell and has them playing really exciting football.
Stephen O'Donnell was with us last night. He wouldn't be drawn in that. It's a funny way to resign, isn't it? If you say, I think my manager is going to move somewhere else, and the Motherwell fans loving what he does. What about John McGlynn? Remarkable, isn't it? Sort of modest man. He's not flamboyant, but my goodness, he knows his football.
He does, and his teams usually get the job done. Having played against them a lot last year in the Championship, they were the outstanding side. I think he was linked with Hearts, wasn't he, before McInnes came in as well. So it's no surprise that he's getting linked with bigger clubs than Falkirk. It's sad to say that. They're sorry, Falkirk fans, but Aberdeen is. They're one of the biggest clubs in the country, and when a team like that comes calling, it's hard to say no. But it wouldn't surprise me if he did. He's done so well at Falkirk. He seems to get on well with the supporters, the coaches. They love him there. So you never know what's going to happen.
One top flight game last night, of course. Livy thought they were going to get their first points since August until Gogic's goal right at the end, 89th, 90th minute. Robbie Muirhead had put them ahead, as you know, Andy. It was a cruel one for Livy, and the manager, he's not happy with the decision.
I can understand his unhappiness at previous incidents, maybe not the one last night. I don't think there's any need to re-referee it. I think we all accept a bit of holding can go on for a second. If it's not prolonged, I think you're more than likely to get away with it.
Wasn't long enough, maybe?
I didn't think it was long enough, but I know that Livy have felt hard done by with a few decisions. As St Mirren have done as well.
What did you feel, Jamie, about the incident in the box? What would you have done?
Like Andy said there, you've got to let a little bit of holding go. I think there's a lot of frustration just in his interview that they've lost a goal last minute, which, at one point they were looking as if they're bringing St Mirren right back into the relegation battle, and they were getting a couple of points, but it was a frustrating end to the game from him. I can imagine how angry he was.
Big point for St Mirren though, Jamie. And they needed it, going from the heights of the League Cup final. They haven't won a game since then, but they're now on 19 points after 22. Killy on 14, Livy on 11. What about St Mirren?
It's been a tough period for them. You know, you had that high of winning the cup. Excellent for them and their fans, and the manager done excellent. But since then, it's been poor. I think they'll tell you that. They want to do better. They want to be pushing for the top 6. In the last few games, they haven't been their usual self, put it that way. So they'll be looking to bounce back, and hopefully that's the point that takes them there.
And they're at Dundee United this weekend. You've just been there. Who would you fancy between those two?
Well, like we said there, maybe a little bit of confidence at Mirren going that last minute. Dundee United are a good side though. We played against them, very physical, very big team, difficult to play, especially on the Tannadice slope. So it'll be an interesting one at the weekend. Andy,
St Mirren, vital last night to get a point, because you begin to worry about them if they had taken nothing from it.
Yeah, I think you do begin to worry. I mean, the highlight, obviously, of the season, when they look back on it, will be the League Cup victory. But the last thing you want to do is get involved in a relegation scrap. I do think they've got enough about them to get the wins, to take them away from the bottom 2. Maybe not challenging for the top 6 would have been in the last few years. But I think the bottom 2 is between Livingston and Kilmarnock.
You'd agree it's beginning to look that way, although Finlay Curtis looks to be on his way, Jamie, to Rugby Park on loan from Rangers. What do you make of young Curtis?
He's been really good when he's played for Rangers. Obviously started the season really well in Russell Martin's team. Had chances limited probably since the new managers came in. So it's not a surprise that he's wanting to go out on loan, and it's also not a surprise that Kilmarnock want to take him. Saying that, it's a tough place to go on loan into a relegation battle. You've got to be on it every week, and you really find what you're made of in a relegation battle, I think.
He won't go until after the game tomorrow night. If it does, it looks as though it's happening, Andy. Would you make of Finlay Curtis and about the move for him?
I would just advise anyone at that age, anyone who's got that ability and has shown it for Rangers on a big stage, he's got to go and play. It's the only way you learn. It's the only way you improve. You wonder about someone, for example, Stephen Welsh, doing so well at Motherwell, part of a team that are getting a lot of plaudits for the football that they're playing, and he was a part of that. He's now back at Celtic. Obviously, he is Celtic's player, but is he going to be involved, on a week-to-week basis? And anyone of that age, you've just got to play every week in order to improve.
Celtic have got the new man on the way, Tomas Čvančara, is how you're saying it, Andy. I always look to your... Čvančara. Oh, I like it, yeah. You were in a match last night, weren't you, down south? Did I hear you on Sky?
Yeah. That was poor. I was doing Oxford QPR. I'm sure Celtic supporters will remember Karamoko Dembele.
Of course.
He was playing for Queen's Park Rangers. He actually played okay. Conditions were difficult, wind and a bit of rain, but... wasn't the best game, I'll just say it.
Was that the worst game?
It's possibly the worst game I've ever seen.
And how did he do, young Dembele? Because there was great expectations of a young man.
He did not get enough of the ball in the last third. He was showing all of his skill and ability to get away from players in the middle of the park. I'd seen him a couple of times play for Blackpool, and he's filled out now. He's taken a bit of a stretch. I think we all remember him as a really small winger. He can play in that role. He plays as a number 10 sometimes. But he's got great ability. It's the level of competition in the Championship is really good, and the amount of money that they spend on players is extraordinary.
John Lundstrom was in the headlines last night. He was headbutted. Jamie, you would see it just before the end of the game. And a player who did it, allegedly, if I got to say, then he's...
No, you don't need to say allegedly.
I know, I saw it this morning. So he's never far away from trouble. Not Lundstrom, the other player.
No, I've seen he's had a few bans. I remember, did he bite something?
Did he? Right.
Bit someone, okay. There was a couple of things, so he's obviously not the most disciplined player in the world. And it looked as if Lundstrom took quite a...
He did take a bit of a thud. There's always there's a Scottish interest just about every single game, Andy, isn't there?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I do a few games in the Championship, and I think the level of competition is really strong.
Tomorrow night, we'll run a bit now. In fact, the Celtic game will kick off at 5:45. Bologna against Celtic. So Callum McGregor up against, will he play Lewis Ferguson? Because the manager, Vincenzo Italiano, has been dropping him recently. And Peter Grant this time last night, when we were talking about it, and Arne Engels is wanted, RB Leipzig, apparently. Could you see a world where he goes there and Celtic swoop and bring in Lewis Ferguson?
Well, I don't know what Lewis thinks himself about playing abroad, being out of Scottish football and actually making a mark, making a real name for himself. But a club like Celtic, why would you not be interested in a player like that, who obviously knows the Scottish game really well? I think he excelled, pushed himself as a player at Bologna in those early seasons that he had. But it all depends what the player thinks himself. But if he was to come to Celtic, obviously there's a bit of chat about his dad and how he played for Rangers and all the rest of it. But we've seen all that before, and the level of professionalism that you get now from players, I don't think it would be a problem.
Exactly. Jamie, would be quite a coup for Celtic. Nobody said it is happening, but it came up last night. Would you welcome it as a former Rangers player? Probably not. You could imagine he could spark something for Celtic, because the Rangers fans would say, well, why has he gone there? Hearts wouldn't like it. And for him, it would be regular football between now and the World Cup.
Yeah, and I think that's what he'll be thinking of. He wants to go to the World Cup. I think he still will. He's done his part for Scotland over the last year or so. So why not? Why not go play regular football? I think Celtic are probably starting to look at replacements for Hatate. You feel like Hatate's maybe coming to the end of his time at Celtic.
And he's done so well for them.
And he done really well, particularly at the start. He's just tailed off a little bit over the last while, but he's that ready-made replacement, that attacking midfielder that makes the box, that scores goals, that wins a tackle. So yeah, if he was to go to Celtic, I think it'd be a good signing for him.
It's always a problem when you keep players a bit too long, and I think everyone at Celtic knew that Daisen Maeda wanted to move. Yeah. Really unhappy that he didn't get his move. I mean, you heard Martin O'Neill referring to it in a press conference not so long ago. He was going to sign for a team in Germany. Yeah. But it hasn't happened, and you've got someone who's been... I'm sure his level of professionalism is still up there, but he's not a happy player, and he's been more ineffective.
Hard for the fans, isn't it? Because they spend so much money on it. The football club is so important to them. They would dream about playing for Celtic. Yeah. And yet they see a player who was brilliant for them, but he doesn't want to be. I
think you look at it in terms of... We've spoken about managers for so long, Paul, and they tend to be here for...
minutes.
2, 3, 4 years if they're doing really well. Yeah. And I think you should think that about players, especially from... the Far East, they want these life experiences. They're not going to stay here for much longer than that.
All right, the countdown's on to tomorrow night. We're going to hear from Danny Røhl and Martin O'Neill. That's coming up next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Sure is. Paul Cooney here with Andy Walker and Jamie Murphy playing this weekend. Well, Ayr United playing at Partick Thistle, and then you've got the challenge game a couple of nights later against St Johnstone.
Yep, the KDM Evolution Trophy.
Thank you for that, Doctor. Yeah, there you are. You get that one. You'll be. Don't mention Petrofac.
It changes name every year. Yeah, that's what it is this year.
Remember that you were at Rangers, obviously, when during those years when Rangers had to come back from the lowest division. Jamie, it must have been so tough, and it seems a long time ago when you look at the way Rangers are at the moment.
They've came a long way. Yeah. Obviously, whatever happened, and they went down the leagues, but they've done well to get back. I think they'd have liked another league title or two in amongst there. They've obviously got one, and they'll be pushing. And you can see by the window that they're having, they're definitely going for it.
Ludogorets tomorrow night in the Europa League. As Jamie mentioned, points are really important for Rangers, especially for their ambitions. If they're champions, for the Champions League next season, but it's so tight with Olympiacos, you were saying. I love that research that you've done, Jamie.
There's a lot of ifs out there. If Rangers win the league, if Olympiacos lose, if Rangers win. So there's a lot still to happen, I think.
Well, Danny Røhl was asked, what about the game at the weekend? Rangers winning against Anand Athletic on the Friday night game. He changed, was it 9 or 10? Celtic changed 10, and they did quite a number of changes.
There was a few, yeah.
He spoke about resting players, and also ahead of this game tomorrow night.
I will not rest so many players for tomorrow. We go with a strong group, and then that this point is very important for us. We have to be successful in the league, otherwise this is not a topic for us. But of course, we have now 16 games in the league, 2 games in Europe, and 4 hopefully cup games to go. And if we get a lot of points in this, then we will have a good summer.
obviously,
Lyall, let's get the injury update from him.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Čvančara is out for this week. We got the result today. I think this is positive. We thought at the beginning it's long term, but now it's hopefully just until Monday. Then he's back. That gives us a lift. Dušan looks good on the pitch. I'm not sure if I take him on the weekend, because then we have a lot of games ahead of us where we have to use him, we have to manage him. Connor, is on the way, but it takes time. Derek is training hard to come back. And Bailey, of course, is also a long term.
Andy, John Souttar, that's a blow for Rangers.
Yeah, I think it's an area of the pitch where Rangers were looking to strengthen. I think to have a fit John Souttar, someone who not only can defend well, but he's got that good use of the ball from the back. He can step out and play it when he gets into the middle of the park, and he's been a decent goal threat at set pieces.
Jamie?
He's a big player for Rangers. I think Rangers probably play better when he's in the team. You know, you've got Fernandes coming on to a little bit of game now and one or two others, but you still want Souttar in there, like vice-captain, what is he? So he's a big part of the team. I think you always want him in there.
He was asked about the new signings. Will the Rangers fans see them playing? We saw a little bit of Chumani the other night, didn't we, on Friday? But will they play this weekend? Of course, Rangers at home on Sunday to Dundee.
Yeah, for Sunday, I have him in my mind. Tochi as well. I think this is good. Both bring good quality in. They understand the game. I think Scoff, showed in some moments. Also the calmness on the ball in the final third to make this extra pass, good finishing. Tochi understand to play on the 6. You see it in the small details in the tactical part, how he cover areas, what he has to do. He is also calm on the ball. He is very open-minded and listening. For me, it's in the last couple of days a little bit more observing them, give them not too much, too quick, a lot of information, give a little bit them freedom, a feeling for the group. And then, of course, in front of a game, I will speak with them individual, give them the belief, give them the confidence, and then I think they will show soon why they are here.
Andy?
I just don't think Rangers can take any game lightly. And I know a home game against Dundee, you'd think, well, that's another 3 points. We'll keep on the road. We'll see what happens at Tynecastle with Hearts and Celtic. But Dundee have gone there before. They've managed to get a point. You know, they've beaten Celtic at Dens Park. They've had a bit of a resurgence in recent weeks. You can't afford to take any team lightly. So that's why you need this strong squad that Rangers are trying to put together.
Jamie?
I think, as Andy said, you can't take any game lightly. I know we were talking about it earlier off camera, but Clemont's game last year, Rangers Motherwell at home, Rangers flying, pushing for the league, and then they lose at home to Motherwell and it goes downhill from there. So you've got to be wary of these games.
He spoke about, he was asked, so are there going to be more strikers coming into the building?
As a manager, at first you're always happy with your players, because this is my job. Give them the belief, give them the support. And then again, to sign a striker means it should be the right one, also right fit. I think we have different profiles. Maybe we find a player who can also play 2 or 3 positions, and in all those 3 positions he is dangerous. I think this is helpful as well. And this is what I said after the cup game. We need also players around the strikers to score more. I think Telo starts, hopefully Gus and Mikey can continue and score more goals for us. They have to come in better areas. I think this is a part. We got Scoff. I expect also that we can score more with him, because it's a different profile, and even he will give us assists because of his calmness on the ball. Now we should increase. I think this is the next part. Is the set play with money he increase. If everyone increase, I think our fullbacks can increase, could be more dangerous in areas. I think especially second post, be more in areas where they can make assists. And if everyone takes the responsibility for scoring, then we increase as a group.
Andy, what do you take from that?
I just take it that Rangers, he's trying to build every aspect of the club, and I think one of the the positives he's trying to get out of his players is just on the European stage. I mean, so far they've played 6 games in the Europa League. They've only got 1 point. They've got a home game against Ludogorets, who've picked up the same amount of points as Celtic on 7. That's the maximum that Rangers could get in their last 2 games. So, I think he wants to try and ensure that the Rangers have the best possible chance of, getting some more points in the Europa League and getting a wee bit of respectability back.
We saw Danilo the other night. Jamie, would you expect... They must be trying to offload the striker. It just hasn't worked out for him. Injuries being a big part of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think since he's came in, he showed glimpses that he's a good player, or he'll score a good goal. I think of his goal at Easter Road earlier in the season. It's a really good finish, but then there's other times where he's missing a couple of games, or he's getting subbed off at half time, or he's come on and not really affecting the game. So I think he'll be one that is probably looking to move on, whether it's now or the summer. But there's a few players at Rangers that I think you could say that about. There's players that are playing for their contracts, that are playing to stay in Scotland. So, and that's the way it should be at Rangers. You should always be fighting for your place.
Danilo's goal, was that the one that his dad enjoyed?
I think it was.
That was great. I mean, the
I think
cameras.
His dad enjoyed that full game because he was still celebrating at the end.
He certainly was. It's just not enough of them, Andy, for Danilo.
No, not enough of them. And especially for one who has cost them a lot of money, apparently one of the higher earners. And if he's not doing it and you feel as though you can get someone in who will be a more regular scorer, then that's the business you've got to try and do.
He was asked about exits. Rangers fans, come on, 08 17 17 700. Are you going to the game tomorrow night? What are you thinking now? I think they've gone a little bit quieter because things are going well and they want to find out what is going to happen. Maybe they don't want to rock the boat. Yeah, there should be exits, but he was asked, any hint as to who might be leaving?
Yeah, I think it's a general a big part that we have new players in, but also some players that need game time. I think that was part by Lyall. He made in the last couple of weeks really a fantastic job. It was not easy for him, but he took this very professional. That was what I liked, and I think it's important now that he gets the minutes. I think he made straight impact in the last game. This is good, and now we will see in the next 7 to 10 days. I think there will be some movements in out. I think so, but now we come a little bit to the crunch time in the transfer window, and then it's really about timing. Sometimes you have to be a little bit patient because we still know. When you look at the moment, our list for Europe is, I think, available players at the moment 15. It's a very small squad, and 3 days later we have still a game in the league. For this is also important to understand that you use all the players there on the list in these games.
It's a factor, isn't it, that it's a smaller squad for the Europa League?
It is, yeah, and Rangers have had some registration troubles with players in the past. I think of Yilmaz, people at the start of the season, they were needing a left back, they couldn't play him. So, yeah, all that goes into transfers as well. Homegrown players, youth players coming through, so that it's quite hard to keep up sometimes with who can get registered and who can't. So, you've got to be looking at that. I'm sure there's people behind the scenes at Rangers looking at different things, different signings. And I'd still expect Rangers and Celtic to sign 1 or 2 in, and then a few going out.
Celtic flew to Italy this afternoon for the game tomorrow night. They'll be training at the stadium. It's not the biggest stadium, Andy, but it's a sellout for tomorrow night. They're not having a good run at the moment, as we mentioned earlier on. I think 1 win in 9 games. And he's been changing the team. I mean, it's not all about Lewis Ferguson, but it's unusual, a captain not playing as often.
Yeah, it is unusual, and if he's lost a bit of form, he might be carrying a bit of an injury, but I think what we do know is that he's capable of playing at a really high level, capable of being a leader. To get the captaincy, I think, tells you everything about what the manager and the coaching staff have thought about him there and the impact that he's made. And I think he's maybe brought some more eyes on players like him who are playing in the Scottish Premiership, and knowing that they could maybe do a job and for clubs who've got a bigger budget. It's
a remarkable story, the Scots who've gone in recent years and excelled in Italy. Jamie, is it something you would love to have done?
Yeah. You think back and you look at these players doing well over there and you think, did I have the opportunity ever push myself to go over there.
Did you have an opportunity?
Not really, no. It was never something I even thought about.
Right.
You know, I think you think about that more at the end of your career, like, I wish I'd have done that or this or whatever. But no, it's great. It's great for the Scottish boys over there. I don't know how many you got, 5, 6, 7 over there. Josh Doig, I'm thinking of the Henderson brothers, they're over there as well. So Italy seems to be the place to be for Scottish players.
You can't mention Italy without mentioning McTominay. They love him at Napoli. Yep.
He has been utterly magnificent. And of course, as soon as you say his name now, you just immediately think of that extraordinary goal that he scored for Scotland.
Which one was that?
At Hampden. My God. Have you ever seen a better goal at Hampden than that one?
There was a few that night, though, contenders. Yeah.
Wonderful moments, and we're all looking forward to seeing how we do in the summer and in the States. But you're dead right to highlight all the Scots that have made a really good impact abroad.
Are you going, Andy? Is President Trump still speaking? I know he was speaking at Davos earlier today. It went on and on and on. We'll watch what we say. We want to be at the World Cup.
Hopefully I'll get in. I'll be visiting my daughter at some stage, so we'll see what happens.
In New York, he certainly loves the limelight. Last night he was on when I headed back after this, before watching the Champions League. And then today, boom, in the afternoon, he's on over at Davos. Your thoughts on Davos, Jamie? I'm kidding. Going to take a quick break and then we're going to hear from... You should see Jamie's face. And
Not the man he has.
I would be the same. We're going to hear from Derek McInnes, looking forward to the game with Celtic. That's coming next.
Show with Burger King.
Champions League, of course, doesn't count this season for anyone here in Scotland unless you're following the teams down south. Last night, Kairat Almaty scored a goal, but they were pretty much thumped by Bruges, Andy. And do you still think about that? Because Celtic should have... They didn't. Kairat Almaty did. But when you think about that and what's happened since then...
Just part of the... How often have we said it? Part of the shambles of the summer where... You know, Brendan Rodgers didn't have the players that he wanted. And, I think we're all sensible enough to accept, I'm sure Brendan Rodgers is too, that he should take a bit of criticism as well. Sure. Celtic didn't score enough goals, but just didn't get the players. And it was an opportunity missed. And then you see the results last night, a club like Bodo Glimt, who are, they've taken care of, let's just call them big spending, Manchester City. But it just shows you with a bit of professionalism around the club, you can achieve great things.
Jamie, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I was actually thinking, I seen a thing earlier when Man City players refunded the money for the fans that went to Norway.
Fantastic.
It is. It's great. It's something I'm always wary of, because you get people expecting things. You go to watch the football, so you don't go and... You go and support your team. No, you don't go for your team to win.
There's no guarantee of winning. But you're Man City.
But it's a long way to travel for them as well. So it's obviously good of them.
Andy, just check. What's the fare from Dundee to Ayr? I mean, look, you were not going in as favourites against Dundee United, but that's a good shout, maybe. Yeah? No.
I'm sure Haaland's on a lot more money than I am.
I know, indeed. Right. I'm sure. But even he's off the boil a little bit. But Club Bruges is the kind of club that Celtic, Rangers, Hearts should aspire to be. Hearts are different. They're on the way up at the moment. But the big two, Andy, I mean, how many times can we say the amount of money spent by the football clubs is phenomenal. And they're not getting a return for their money.
It's not so long ago Rangers were in the final of the Europa League and they were a whisker away from winning it. And I think clubs in Scotland can compete in the Europa League. I think you can certainly do better when you're in the Champions League. No one's expecting you to win it, but we are expecting our big clubs to qualify for the Champions League, and we are expecting them to not be embarrassed once they get there. And I think we can do a lot better.
Hey, there's a red car in the fountain. So that's Gregory's on. He's a big Celtic fan. That's one of his favourite songs. We mentioned it during the traffic, Tinseltown in the Rain, and Rapper's Delight at the Sugar Hill Gang. So he's asking, though, more importantly, what about Celtic tomorrow night at Bologna? What's going to happen, Andy? What do you reckon? What's the kind of result that Martin O'Neill would be? I know he'd be looking for a win, but what's your thoughts on it?
You look at Celtic and you don't think they're strong enough, and yet when Martin O'Neill was here the first time around, maybe a few months ago, he got a really good, unexpected result away to Feyenoord. And, I think that impressed everyone. It surprised everyone. But I think it just shows you when you've got a bit of organisation and a bit of guidance, then good things can happen. Bologna will be favourites. And I just hope Celtic can put up a good performance. And we talk about, people that are travelling. You just want to give them a lift. You want to give them a good memory. And you want to give them the idea that they can come back from a really difficult game and go into a more important game at the weekend against Hearts. And that's the one where you really want to win and reduce the gap at the top to just the 3 points.
Yeah, Bologna on 11 points, Celtic on 7. Just on the edge at the moment, they would be qualifying. Right, we mentioned Derek McInnes. You just mentioned the game at the weekend. Hearts against Celtic, Sunday afternoon. And we know the story. Lawrence Shankland, top scorer, is out 6 to 8 weeks. And so too Cammy Devlin. Here is Derek McInnes.
Yeah, listen, there's no getting away from it. But, I've got to try and concentrate on the players who are fit and available and be ready for that one. Obviously losing key players is part of it. You've got to try and cope with that throughout a season. We've got a number of injuries going on at the minute, and it's not ideal. Some will focus on key players like Lawrence and Cammy and the rest of it, but we're just trying to work our way through a situation at the minute where we can deal with injuries, and that's the test. It's a season's a long season, and you have to kind of deal with these kind of moments. So and deal with them we will. We feel as if we've got good players in the building, and when there's any disappointment for certain players through a longer term injury, then it presents that opportunity. We're hoping we can get Ayew back for the last part of the season, and Oisin McEntee potentially be fit for the weekend. So it's not all doom and gloom, and it's easy to feel a bit negative. But for us, it's a chance to react in the window, chance to try and look to others to step up, and it's important for us to stay as positive, because Sunday's game, we're going to need everything we've got as a club to try and win that game.
Jamie, who do you think goes in as favourites as things stand just now?
I think with Shankland in particular, I know Devlin's done really well from this season, but Shankland's our captain, their talisman, if you like. I think missing the two is massive for Hearts, so I think Celtic's favourites for that one. I think it will be a difficult period for Hearts now with the two of them missing. They're so influential to their team. Not saying they're definitely not their only players, but they are a big part of the team, big part of the spine of the team as well. So taking them two out is I think it'll be difficult for them.
I think Hearts are favourites. They've played Celtic and Rangers 4 times and they've won 4. This is another home game, and I totally accept what Jamie's saying. Their 2 best players this season, 2 most consistent players, they'll be missing. But before a ball's kicked, Hearts are in good form. You look at the way Celtic played last weekend against Auchinleck Talbot, wasn't impressive at all. What will the makeup of the starting 11 be? Will Celtic sign Tomas Čvančara? Will they get him in?
I think he will be there.
Is he fit enough? Is he going to play from the start?
I think he will be in.
All of these questions still to be answered, and if he does play from the start, I think it gives everyone a lift. But then how's he going to fit into this pattern of play, and how effective is he going to be in Scottish football?
What's it like, Andy, when you turn up and you're thrown in? Can you remember during your career being thrown in right away?
Well, a bit different for me, because some of the players that I was thrown in with, and we talk about Maswanhise, I mean, he's a Motherwell player. I was a Motherwell player. Yep. I went to Celtic playing alongside some big players, some of the players that I'd watched for years, guys like Tommy Burns and Roy Aitken and Paul McStay, and our good friend Granty, who was a Celtic regular for so long. And all of these guys were great teammates. But no, I found my game had to improve every day at training. And, you try and take that into a game at the weekend. And I think you can be inspired by those around you. But Celtic need a lot of good performances if they're going to win at the weekend.
Do you know what Richard Foster told me a few months ago? He said it in the programme, Jamie, that when he went to Rangers from Aberdeen, he didn't realise how hard the players worked at Rangers. So you tend to think Rangers players, Celtic players will be on a different level. And he said, but part of it was, talent's a big part. He said, but they worked so hard that it just wasn't by accident. It just wasn't a God-given thing. You had the talent. You've got to work incredibly hard.
Absolutely. I think everyone that's played for both will tell you that. It's not just the attacking side of the game, it's the defensive side. you run, you press, you sprint, you get the ball back. Yeah, you've got the ball more than the other team a lot of the time, but I know I can only speak from experience. When I was there, Gerrard was huge on it. He was huge on the other side of the game, the pressing, the tackling, the running back, the helping your teammates. And I think that's the basis of a good team. I think no matter what level you're at, if you're doing the kind of things, then you're on to success.
We hope to hear from Martin O'Neill in the next hour, speaking to the media in Italy. But we heard today from Derek McInnes, looking forward, as he mentioned, to that game with Celtic on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's a good reference point for us, the fact that this group of players have already shown that they can win these types of games. Sunday's a different game, obviously, and Celtic under Martin, obviously it's not come up against Martin as a manager, come up against him often enough as a player, and you know, Celtic are in a different place as well, so it's a tough game for us, but equally it'll be a tough game for them as well. So we're looking forward to it. It's another opportunity to try and strike a blow to a direct opponent who in and around us in the league. And I think any time you can beat a team of Celtic's quality at any time, it gives you that confidence to go on. So no, looking forward to the game for many reasons.
Čvančara looks to be in. Still no official word yet from Celtic, and there could be one or two more before the weekend. But Celtic fans, how frustrated have you been? 08 08 17 17 700, and also pleased to see the Czech striker on his way. Here's Danny Røhl speaking about the Rangers game at the weekend. He spoke about, does he need more strikers? Are there going to be some exits? But he's confident about the squad that he has.
The good thing is that my team showed me in the last couple of weeks that they can, except from hearts, beat everyone at the moment, and this is fantastic to see. This gives me also this calmness, relaxed. Now we brought 3 more players on. They showed the quality, the training, the presence. You see it straight because that increase also the other players around them. They see that some quality comes to the squad. I think that helps massive. And all in all, when I see the group, even also the relationship to each other, the atmosphere on the pitch, they're very focused. They do what they have to do. This is great to see, and yeah, for me it's about push them. But at the moment you have the feeling they know really what it means and which opportunity we have in the next couple of weeks.
08 08 17 17 700 news is next. Then we're back.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 08 08 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
We sure are. Paul Cooney here with Jamie Murphy and Andy Walker. Don't forget, if you think you can predict this weekend's SPFL results, we're going to give you the chance to take on our score predictor with Sheffield Timber. Predict this weekend's Premiership results as either a win, a loss or a draw. You get them right and you'll get £1,000. Register now at thisisgo.co.uk for your chance to win. Jamie, not a bad, sounds good to me, as a winning bonus.
It does, yeah. Especially if you know your football. Estimated guesses on the results.
Sure, I wouldn't be too confident myself on that one, Andy. £1,000 bonus.
Yeah. Oh, could do with that.
Indeed.
Well, wedding coming up, you're
of course.
For everything.
That's right, September will be here before you know it.
Not my own wedding, I must say.
Indeed, yeah. Carol's okay on that one. Yep, you've got a family wedding later on. I won't say too much.
Wedding.
Have you chosen the menu yet? Yeah.
We are looking very seriously at it. The chips will be really nice.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, good West of Scotland venue, or an East of Scotland. I'm not going to say any more. We're just looking to see any transfer news coming in. 12 days to go for the window, because it's February the 2nd here in Scotland. The headlines, we gave you it in the first hour of the programme, that Celtic have Tomas Čvančara. Andy says it better than I do. The Czech 6'3" striker, and he should be in the squad. He's on loan. Borussia Mönchengladbach, his parent club. He's been here and there, and I saw some stuff online saying that, hey, he's maybe there's a bit of unrest in the dressing room. I don't think Celtic will care if he comes in and does a job, Jamie, but he left his club in April quite quickly.
Yeah, I've seen a few reports about his attitude and things like that, but I'm sure Andy's been there as well. You're in the dressing room with someone that's maybe a little bit difficult, but as long as they're turning up on a Saturday and doing the job for you and your team and the fans, that's all that matters. It does help if you're a decent person, though, I will say.
It's crucial that Celtic get people in the building, though, Andy. It's been the story of, well, the last couple of months, really, the Wilfred Nancy period. That's only 2 weeks and 2 days since he left the building.
Yeah, and if Celtic lose at the weekend, you think, well, nine points is maybe too big. If they can get it down to 3, then it's game on. And you would imagine with another, little bit of time left till the window closes, it is essential to get as many options in as you can that the manager is really looking for. Not just a potential goal scorer, but someone with a bit of a physical presence. I'm sure Martin O'Neill would love to get a right-sided central defender that's very dominant, very strong, very physical, and someone who can play every week. I mean, no one can predict injuries, but someone who's got a good record.
Because nobody talks, very few people now talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers. It's a long-term injury, Jamie. Everyone knows he's a wonderful player, but they've just not seen enough of him, and he's out with a long-term injury.
He's been a big miss for them.
Yep.
I think in particular when Wilfred Nancy was there playing a back 3, you would like to think that he'd have slotted right into that role, maybe a right-sided centre-half, even the one in the middle. So it's been a big miss for Celtic, obviously one they weren't expecting.
Did you play against them?
I played against them a couple of times, yes, St Johnstone. Very strong, quick, difficult to get round.
Did you get round them a couple of times? Just say yes.
Yes.
No, somebody will be watching and listening on the Go Radio Football Show with Burger King
yes.
who will remember. What about Maswanhise then? Is he on the way to Celtic? Rangers were mentioned a couple of days ago as well, the Motherwell striker. Martin O'Neill was spotted at Motherwell at the weekend.
That was a football mission. That's part of my job, to look at the games. If I can get an opportunity. We did it after training, so I went there with Fotheringham, and it was nice. I would like to see, I enjoyed the game, so you lads, honestly, you're testing me to the utmost.
And he had so many questions about transfers.
Yeah, we are very, very hopeful that we will get some people in.
And he was asked, what about the Scottish market? Can we look for players playing here to be moving to Celtic? What's his view on that?
I was asked that question last week. Then I think there are players here. There's no doubt at all about it. That there are players here that are capable of playing. I think at a higher level.
Maswanhise could be on it. We don't know, but you wouldn't be surprised if he was his way.
I made the step up from Motherwell, and it was exciting. It was great to play alongside better players. I felt as though I had a really good grounding at Motherwell, and I think Maswanhise is a player who might be able to excel with when you think about the amount of possession that Celtic have, the amount of chances that they create. He's someone who could do well there.
Something special at the weekend was Tinecty's goal. Jamie, playing in a position that you like, getting wide. And I know the Talbot player was tiring badly, but what did you make of that strike?
Oh, it's a great goal. I think that as a winger, you can't think about the defender. You can't think, the defender's tired. You've just got to go 100% all the time. He cuts inside and it's a great finish into the far corner. I will say, Auchinleck Talbot, I thought done themselves proud. They were never going to win the game. It was going to be really difficult for them. Celtic had all the ball, and Celtic broke through. But you could see the effort that they put in to the fact that a lot of them couldn't walk the last 5 minutes. It was difficult for them, but no, a great goal from Celtic.
A lot was said afterwards about Balikwisha, and the manager was asked about them. The £4.5 million signing from the summertime.
He did okay. He did all right in the game. Yes. He was striving for a start for quite some considerable time, so he got it. And I know Apollo played under Wilfred a couple of times. It was his first start under me as well too. So at least they got Apollo got the 90 minutes and Balikwisha got most of the game.
I mean, most of them are off it, Andy. Would that be fair? But Paulo Bernardo, uncharacteristically not involved the way you would expect.
Yeah, you expect more of him. You expect more of Balikwisha. I don't think he'll be involved. Certainly in the starting 11 at the weekend. And this is where Celtic now have to start motoring. So you're in the transfer window. Martin O'Neill is talking about getting some people in. So it suggests more than one. So there's a number of positions that Celtic supporters have been crying out for the last couple of windows now. A striker, a wide player, someone with a dominant central defender, right-sided, I think, preferably. They're the positions that I think need addressed most of all.
Jamie, do you agree on what Celtic need?
Yeah, I think it's big. They just need players in at the minute. They need players that are going to excite the fans, are going to get the board and the fans' relationship back together. I think that's probably more important than any individual position for them. They need to be signing players that are of Celtic quality and that the fans want to see.
Balikwisha, do you have a view on him? You probably haven't seen enough of him, but I mean, somebody saw something to pay over £4 million.
Yeah, again, it's a lot of money to spend on a player, and now you're looking at it, so he's hardly played, he's not done great when he has played, and I never think it's great when your manager says that someone says, oh, he did well in the game, and the manager says, oh, he done okay. It's never a great sponsorship.
Damned with faint praise. I mean, it is, you can hear it. And listen, people want to see players coming in, doing well. It's a huge amount of money. And I wonder if that was part of it. The board would be saying, no, in fact, I'm not even going to go down that line, Andy.
No, but listen, maybe they paid over the odds, and sometimes you have to do that. He doesn't look that type of player. I mean, you can look at someone like Arne Engels. I mean, he cost, what, 10, 11 million? Yeah. Has he been worth the money? If there was any sort of prospect of him leaving and getting back near to what you paid for, I think Celtic would be open for business there. And you just have to be so aware and so alert every window. You know, your homework is done almost a year in advance. It's not like, the transfer window opens in a couple of months. Let's think about what we need. I mean, things can change with injuries almost overnight, but in general, you've got a good feel of who can be available and what you need as a club.
Rangers know what they're going to have to pay now for Lyall Cameron. That was 11 months ago when he came. Well, the deal was done. He didn't come then. And they say it's a six-figure fee, Jamie, so that could be anything from 100,000 to 900,000. What do you reckon they're playing for Lyall Cameron?
Oh, you'd think a couple of 100,000 at least. I think he done really well for Dundee. He hasn't quite done it at Rangers. He hasn't quite been given the opportunity to do it at Rangers. But you can see he's got quality. He got man of the match in his first game for Aberdeen there. I'm sure he'll do well there between now and the end of the season.
That must have been sweet for him, because there's a poster up saying no Old Firm loans here are players, but my goodness, he did really well.
Yeah, it must have been difficult for him. I mean, it's never great that your first game and they're protesting against your signing. It's never a good sign, but he reacted to it the right way and went out and got a man of the match. So it's important for him and his development that he plays over the next few months, and then Rangers fans will be hoping that he comes back and does well again there.
Did you ever get that, Jamie? I'm sure you didn't. Andy, you're getting the same question. Murphy must go.
There was nobody booing me on the first day, no.
You sure? Yeah. No,
maybe the last day, but not the first.
I'm sure they weren't. Andy, what about you?
I've had some boos in my time, and it's difficult to face up to that. And I'm talking about your own supporters. I went through a tough time at Celtic for a while, getting booed by the home support. But the thing you never do, you never hide. If your manager wants to pick you, you don't want to let him down. You don't want to let your teammates down. And yeah, you can have a hard time accepting a few boos. But we say it all the time. Supporters pay their money. You can get a level of adulation that is unbelievable, but when you're being criticised, you got to take it and try and turn it around.
It's testament to your resilience, because I don't remember you being booed. I remember the great days for you, winning the double, and you can never take that away from you.
Well, yeah. They were great days, and I'm sure Jamie's had so many great days in his career, but not every day is great, and sometimes it's difficult. And sometimes you can get a bit of criticism. I think the worst criticism the worst criticism I would ever fear would be from my teammates, and obviously your manager.
Yeah.
And you can take criticism from supporters because it's just it's a big loud noise. But the words from a teammate on the pitch, in the dressing room, they're the ones that will sting a lot more.
And what helped you through that? Was it your family? I know your dad was such a huge influence, because people listening and watching, whatever they're doing in life, You don't wake up every day and go, oh, I'm playing for Celtic, life's brilliant, or I'm playing for Rangers, or Motherwell, whoever. It's whatever you are in life. What did you have to rely on?
I had a strong family. I'm one of 11. I've got 6 brothers who would go to all the games. I had a mum and a dad that were dead keen on going to games. And then I think you might be getting criticism on a training or on a match day. But I think it always helps. You want to play at the big clubs for as long as you can, and sometimes going through a difficult spell, you can use that as a strength to know that you've overcome it and you've got back in and you've won in the end because you can get back into the team.
And the trophies must be all the sweeter when you've had tough days.
Yeah, well, I mean, I won a league title, I won a Scottish Cup, but, Celtic were, as a club, as a team, we were going through a difficult period after that. And, you speak to someone like, I'm trying to think of, Celtic went through a lot of years and didn't win any. John Collins. John Collins is an outstanding player. He hardly won a thing at Celtic. I think he won a Scottish Cup, one Scottish Cup in all the time he was there. So I think that tells you what a difficult period it was for him, for Paul McStay, who would be a captain. But no one would look at either of those two players and think they've not been good enough. They were always trying to lift others. And
remarkable, Paul was in the all-time Celtic first 11 as voted by Celtic fans 10, 15 years ago, and to do that in a period it was difficult. Jamie, for you as a Rangers fan, you were there at a difficult time. You played under Steven Gerrard, learned a lot there, I think. But what about the great days as well as the tough days in football?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot more tougher days than great days. It makes the great days worth it, I will say that. But there's a lot of times, particularly at Rangers, where you didn't want to leave the house. If you hadn't won the game at the weekend, you were almost embarrassed to go out to the shops just in case someone said something or whatever. And I think it is part and parcel of being part of the old firm, playing for Rangers or Celtic. I think you're going to get criticism wherever you go, even if it's not warranted. There'll be times where even you play well and someone says something and it makes you think about it. So it's just about listening to the people around you. I would always listen to my dad. I would ask before my dad after every game, talk to him, speak to friends, teammates and your manager. I think anyone else outside that, you kind of have to take with a pinch of salt. You listen to the people. So
we're right in the middle of the transfer window, in fact into the second half of it. Rangers have been busy. Danny Røhl was asked today, any more news on incomings at Rangers?
I think you can imagine I knock every day on the door of the recruitment and ask something new. But we made so far a good job. I think this is good to have these 3 players now here. And then what I said, it's about now timing. We have a clear idea and now we have to wait. Maybe there's a domino on another club and then we can take this opportunity for us. But this is now the next 7 to 10 days. You have to be ready when you have to be ready.
All right, Jamie, so he's knocking the door every day. Where is the recruitment department? You don't have to tell us.
Next to his office, I think.
Is it? Yeah, it would have to be, wouldn't it? What do you make of what he said there?
It sounds as if they've maybe got 1 or 2 in the pipeline, maybe waiting for teams to sign other players before letting players go. And that's just the way of it. There'll be a lot done in the last day, as always is. And you would think the Rangers and Celtic will be a big part of that.
Andy, if you were at Rangers, what do you think you'd be looking for? I mean, managers always need more, but what do you think Rangers will need?
Central defender.
Yes.
I always felt as though they were giving away just too many chances. Maybe a bit more creativity in that last third. And, is Chermiti, is he the goal scorer? I mean, he made a name for himself with the 2 goals at Celtic Park that won the game for Rangers in a very difficult game, and he's made a name for himself with the Rangers fans. But what has he done since then? And
his hold up play's been a bit better.
Has it? I would argue about that. But he's big bucks, and when you spend big money on a big player, you expect him to come up with big goals, and he did it against Celtic on that occasion. But I think far too often you don't see him scoring regularly enough, and maybe I don't know if Rangers are looking to bring in, another striker. If they could get rid of Danilo, maybe they would look to get another one in.
Jamie? Chermiti?
I think Rangers should always be looking to get better, but Chermiti, every time you watch Chermiti, you can see he's got the physical attributes to be a good player. He can run, he can jump, he's strong, he can head it. The last piece is the goals. Now, yes, he done it against Celtic and it was brilliant and he was excellent. Rangers fans obviously want him to do it more, and if he can do it more, Rangers have their number 9 because he has everything. And they've also got Majowski there, who maybe hasn't done as well as some would have thought. Got a good few goals at last weekend, albeit against Annan. But if the two of them are on form, that's 2 good strikers that Rangers have got. And then once you know you've got the strikers, you can then work back the way. You can look at the other positions and who to bring in. So it gives you more options.
Chermiti, Andy, you saw a fair bit of him 2 seasons ago at Aberdeen, the last couple of years, before he moved away. It didn't work.
Majowski.
I beg your pardon, Majowski. Yeah. What do you reckon?
Well, again, he scores a hat-trick last week. I thought he would have been better. I thought he would have been more effective at Rangers. But he got a hat-trick last week. I know it's against lower league opposition, but scoring goals, it's just a great habit to get into. And I would have him starting ahead of Chermiti. But I know that they might persevere with Chermiti. He's a big signing, big money. He's had a couple of big goals. But maybe from now till the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if Majowski gets more goals than Chermiti.
Because the Aberdeen fans loved him. I know they gave him a warm reception the other week, Jamie, as you would expect. But Majowski, there was a magic about him a couple of seasons ago. And I know it was at Annan, no disrespect to them, but I would imagine if it's his first hat-trick in his career in Scotland, it could spark something for him.
Yes, strikers just want to score goals. I'm sure he's not thinking about who it's against or whatever. They want as many goals as they can. Yes, it's against Annan, but in his head he'll be thinking, I've scored a hat-trick, I'm looking forward to the next game, I'm going to score, I'm going to play well. He's just got to do it now. I mean, he can be that backup striker that Rangers always need, or he can be Rangers number 9. That's really his challenge.
Players going out, Andy, Rangers fans will be hoping it's not Nico Raskin. Besiktas have been looking at him, but apparently they've been unable to convince Rangers or Nico Raskin to want to move to Turkey.
Yeah, I think Raskin is a very effective player, maybe one of Rangers' better ones, but I don't think you should rule out any business for any player if the money's right. I mean, if they can make a really good profit on someone like Nico Raskin, then I think you take the money. And this is something that Rangers have not been good at over the years, apart from the obvious, Joe Aribo, players
Nathan
like
Patterson's good money.
Yep. But over the course of the period, too many really good players have been allowed to run their contracts down and move on, or you've not taken a big offer when it was on the table. And I think it's something Rangers can get better at. Nico
Raskin, he gets some goals for Rangers, though, we saw just the other week, often with his head. What do you make of him?
I think he's a really good player and he's done really well for Rangers. But I agree totally with Andy. If you're getting offered more than £10 million for him, there was the part at the start of the season where it looked as if he was maybe going to go, fell out with the manager. Now I don't know what that was over, but if he's got a chance to move to a so-called bigger club in Europe, in England, whatever, you would think that he would want to go as well. So
I don't think the clubs are bigger, Jamie. They're richer.
Yeah,
they've got
I get
access to more money.
And as much as we want in Glasgow to think that Rangers and Celtic are the top level, and they are for a lot of us, people in other countries don't think the same as us. I try to explain that. Some of my friends say, why does he want to go? Why does he not want to stay at Rangers for because he's not from here. Of course. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
I think the fans are beginning to get it, but it takes a bit of getting used to, doesn't it, Andy? From a few years ago, you say, Brendan Rodgers went to Leicester City, and people are like, what? To Leicester? Yeah. But of course, they had won the Premier League just a couple of years before. The money that comes into the English game, if you're in the Premiership,
it's extraordinary. It blows you away. Look at who Martin O'Neill's got by his side, Sean Maloney. Sean Maloney went to Wigan, went to Villa. Yep. He could have stayed here and won things, but wanted to test himself elsewhere, as so many players want to do. So sometimes you get special ones, like Henrik Larsson, who stayed here for long enough, and even when he left, he was doing good things for Man United, for Barcelona, I mean, a real top player. But I think it is really difficult these days. I'm thinking of the likes of Hatate and Daisen Maeda. When you've got a good few years out of them, I think it's time to move them on and make sure that you can still get value for money on them on the transfer market, and then you just replenish the squad, hopefully with players who are just as good and who can build another level of their reputation in Scottish football.
Well, just after this time last night, we heard that Tomas Čvančara is on his way to Celtic. Will there be movement in the next half hour? You'll find out next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Yep, Paul Cooney here with Jamie Murphy and also Andy Walker. This time tomorrow night, Celtic it'll be half time approaching Bologna against Celtic, and then we'll be winding up getting ready for Rangers against Ludogorets tomorrow night at Ibrox. No Champions League this season, but that's something that we've talked about on many occasions. If you want to speak to Jamie and Andy, good time to call 0808 17 17 700. Jamie, you've been checking Champions League tonight. We'll get the latest in a second or two. It wasn't to be Champions League this season, and there's been huge ramifications. How's Atletico Madrid doing?
1-1 at the minute. Galatasaray have equalised, so that's a tough game for them over there. And Karabag 1 each against Frankfurt as well.
Wow!
If anyone's watching
that one and tuned in to us as well, Andy. Champions League, there's nothing like it. Zadok the Priest, the music, and then away you go.
Absolutely brilliant to be involved in that. You know, even as if you're a journalist, radio, telly, it's all the Champions League is just magnificent. But I think the Europa League, even if we describe it as our level, our being the Scottish champions, you really hope that Celtic especially, I think, can be doing a bit more. They're on the cusp of whether they could qualify for the next phase or not be involved at all. It's going to be tough tomorrow against Bologna away from home. But Celtic certainly need what? You'd think about 4 points to make sure.
2 games to go. Yeah. So, Jamie, not impossible.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's going to be difficult. They've got to do well and they've got to perform. But I think both teams probably looking at Europa League this year and hoping that they'd done a little bit better. I know there's a different format. It's a big league table now. It's different, but if you look at the points they're on, I think they'd expected to be on a few more. Top
of the table, Lyon on 15 points, along with Midtjylland, Aston Villa. So we know all three there. I see Villa lost at the weekend, Andy, and I'm mentioning that because Billy's on, a Scotland fan, hopefully everyone is, saying Nathan Patterson did well for Everton. And, he's been out of the picture a bit, but he played at the weekend.
Well, he's a Scot and good to see him getting some game time at that level, and he obviously will have ambition of being involved in the Scotland squad. Hopefully he'll be fully fit, as we hope John McGlynn will be as well, because he's a special player for us. But when you look at the Europa League and the setup, I mean, there's 36 teams in the league. Celtic are on the cusp. 24 qualify for the next phase, and Celtic at the moment are 24th. So 3 points maybe could do it, but certainly 4 I think would definitely get you there.
Rangers Ludogorets tomorrow night, and top of the show, Jamie Murphy was telling us how important it is if Rangers can get more points. So where do they sit with Olympiacos at the moment?
I think if Olympiacos beat Ajax away next week, then they will leapfrog Rangers. That's what I see my sources tell me, or that's what Twitter tells me.
X. Yeah, so come on Ajax next week.
Yeah, I think Rangers fans will be supporting Ajax.
To do that. Yeah, indeed. Tomorrow night, what kind of crowd do you think there'll be for the match with Ludogorets?
You're hoping it's good. I mean, Rangers' European game at Ibrox, they were some of the best atmospheres over the last couple of years, so it's not going to be the same tomorrow. I get that. I get where Rangers are at, but you would still think there's a same level.
Andy, you're looking forward to that one tomorrow night for Rangers. We won't see the new players until Sunday, but he has played quite a few of those who some of them might be leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the prospect of any sort of European challenge, and you want the Scottish clubs to be doing better. I mean, my goodness, it wasn't that long ago Celtic were almost putting Bayern Munich out of the Champions League and moving further into the competition, and now look at them. Can't score a goal against Kairat, involved in the Europa League, and now it's a scramble just to be involved in the latter stages. So, yeah, here's hoping they can do it.
Derek McInnes is hoping it's going to be Champions League. I mean, at the moment, he won't be sitting thinking about that music and that competition. But my goodness, 22 games, 50 points, top of the table, and they play the defending champion Celtic, as we know, on Sunday. He spoke about the players that he'll be missing, obviously Shankland and Devlin, but he spoke about the fans there and how important they are for them at Tynecastle.
I mean, they've been terrific. I know it's easy to, when there's a lot of kind of disappointing news this week with long-term injuries and the like, it's easy to feel a wee bit kind of sorry for yourself, but we can't have anybody for Hearts Persuasion feeling sorry for himself come Sunday. We're in a brilliant position in the league, and it's important we try and push on now.
Yep, they'll need the fans there. I know it's a ground everyone says they love playing at Tynecastle. Is it one of your favourites?
Well, I wouldn't say it's one of your favourites, because it's all, when you're playing at Tynecastle, they are right on top of you.
Aye.
There is things getting shouted, there is the crowd right behind their team, and that's the way it should be at away grounds. I think you look at some stadiums and you question whether or not they help the team. I think Tynecastle definitely helps Hearts. I think the way it is, the way their support's right behind them, I think it's always a difficult place to go, no matter what kind of form you're in.
Love it. Absolutely love Tynecastle. Always had a strong away support with Celtic, but even in my Motherwell days, we had some really great games against Hearts. You know, when Hearts were going to Scottish Cup final, pushing Celtic all the way when they lost the league in the last game of the season up at Dens. So that was a right good Hearts side that you were up against, but Tynecastle has always been a terrific stadium.
Sure is. Scotland, one of the headlines last night, Andy, was that Scotland, the SFA, will be speaking to Stevie Clarke with a view to trying to get him to extend his contract after the World Cup. Now, he did say last year he's 75% sure this will be his last tournament, but I wonder if he'll have changed his mind. Have you a view on it for Stevie Clarke, for Scotland?
Well, what if Scotland, get through the knockout phase, maybe even get a bit further? I mean, you would want a manager who has taken you that far and who has qualified for previous major tournaments. You'd want him to continue if that's what he wanted. But then look at the criticism that he received after our last level of performance in the European Championships, where the general consensus was we didn't really have a lot of ambition or adventure in our game. So I think it would make sense, obviously, to speak to him, see what he thinks. He's been doing it for a long time, and we spoke earlier about how long is enough, how long is too much. So it would, if he wants to continue, then I think it should be up to him.
Jamie, what's your view?
I agree. I think he's earned the right to choose whether it's time for him to stop or not. I think he's brought a lot of hope back for the country when there was times where you were thinking if Scotland were ever going to qualify for another tournament. I think he's done what's needed to be done. Whether it's the best football or not, I think that's up for debate. But what you can't argue with is him taking us to major tournaments. Yes, I get there's more teams obviously in this World Cup than previous, but there's been games where Scotland fans will never forget, and particularly the last one there at Hampden. So I think he's earned the right to decide.
It's a remarkable record, Andy, isn't it? To qualify for the Euro 2020s, well, it's 2021, and then last year, and now, this year, we're on the way to the World Cup. Well,
the World Cup's a bit special. Yeah. We've not been involved for so long. The fact that it's in America, there's so many nations involved. What is it, 48? And actually 32 qualify. So you've got obviously the top two in every group, and then you've got, I think, the 8 best third place finishes. It's going to be really difficult to not.
Surely, exactly.
To not be involved in the knockout phase of the last 32. But what is guaranteed is you're going to get so many Scottish fans, having so many great memories of their travel and the games that they see, the people that they meet. And I think the World Cup will be a better tournament for Scottish fans being involved because we're a colourful bunch.
Of course, Haiti, Morocco and Brazil for us. Andy, what can you say about the AFCON final and the farce of Senegal going off.
Well, I don't believe a second that Brahim Diaz meant to miss that. I don't believe it for a second. It was just a really poor attempt at a difficult skill. Scoring a Panenka's not for everyone.
I don't know anyone who's done it apart from you. Yeah.
But I don't know if you've taken penalties, Jamie. I don't know whether you've tried the Panenka style, but what did he have? He had about 20 minutes to think about it.
17, 18 minutes.
So
it wasn't great, was it?
Was that the problem?
It wasn't. It wasn't great. But the winning goal was a bit of quality.
But how can you walk off? Sadio Mane didn't, and good on him. And just decide that you're not going to play for nearly 20 minutes.
The only time I can remember being flabbergasted, and it was my old club. It was our old club, Jamie, Sheffield United. Steve Bruce wanted to take the team off at Highbury because the ball had gone out of play and it should have come back to a Sheffield United player. Arsenal took it, went up the park and scored. And it was against, it was Arsene Wenger's team, and Steve Bruce wanted to take the team off, and I thought, are you joking? I don't know what the mindset is about, you feel hard done by about a certain decision and you want to take the team off. I don't know what message it is you're trying to get across.
Was it maybe because it's Highbury, Arsene Wenger, and of course his association with Man United and all the rest of it, he maybe felt a bit of a grudge there. Jamie?
I think, do you know what? The worst thing I seen in that final was the situation with the goalkeeper and his towel. Did you see that?
Yeah, stealing.
They were kept stealing his towel. They had to put the sub-goalkeeper, who I believe is the first choice goalie in for a team in France. Right. He had to stand next to the goal and protect his goalkeeper.
Shocking.
It was wild. Yeah. Aye. And you know what? I'm glad Senegal won, put it that way.
Indeed. So Scotland, we can't wait for it, Andy, for the World Cup. Jamie, I think you're going to be over there. I don't want to give away too many secrets, but you are going to be in America?
I'll be at Disney World, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we're going over with the kids and my wife. So
Mickey Mouse operation.
It just so happens that Scotland are playing the warm-up game in Florida at the time. Yeah. I think it's yet to be confirmed, but all the rumours are that they're going to be playing a game in Florida, so hopefully we'll get to that one.
I see we could be playing Dick Advocaat's team as well, some things. So Japan, Karakau as well. So Andy, do you think you'll be there for the World Cup?
I'm not sure. I mean, obviously my daughter lives on the East Coast. She's a New York girl. The first two games that Scotland play are in Boston, which is it's a short drive away. Stephanie does it all the time, and it's maybe 3-4 hours on a train. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to think about it.
It's got to be done. Nathan Patterson, could you see him breaking into the squad?
Definitely. I think if he's playing every week with Everton, I think that's one you definitely take. I think Aaron Hickey's done really well when he's played there in the last couple of games. I know he was injured for a long time, but if you've got the two of them competing for that right back slot, I think that's good for Scotland.
Andy, Hickey?
Absolutely. Hopefully he's fit, and if he's fit, he'll go. We've spoken about it before, Paul, and I noticed again that Ollie McBurney scored last night, and I know he's never been one of the favourites for Scotland supporters, but he's getting himself a good reputation again at Hull, who are in one of the playoff spots in the Championship.
And Harvey Barnes, his name comes up, doesn't it? For Scotland, what do you feel?
If he wants to play for us, you take him in a minute.
Snap him, wouldn't you?
He has got tremendous ability, and doing a couple of Newcastle games this season, he's such an exciting player and someone we can do with. And I know that it might mean that someone who has been a part of the qualifying campaign possibly missing out, but the nature of football, you want the best that's available to you, and I think the manager would pick the best available.
What's he got? One cap, England, but it was 2020. What do you feel, Jamie? What would you do if you were Stevie Clarke?
I think you're certainly looking at it. I think with the larger squad for the World Cup, there's obviously a chance to bring him in and not put a lot of people out of place with it. I think he would definitely help Scotland. I think that's what it comes down to. Does he improve Scotland's starting 11? I think he probably does.
And he's having a great season, isn't he? He's scoring goals.
Yeah, scoring goals, very creative, a lot of energy, a lot of good skill and ability, playing at a really good level. And, we want to really start the World Cup well. It's a perfect game for us to play Haiti in Boston. There's a big Haitian community, I'm learning, in Boston, as well as a lot of expats of the UK there. So It'll just be a great occasion, and if we can start with a win, then surely we're on the way to the last 32.
And Scotland's captain Andy Robertson, he's not had much game time this season, although many Liverpool fans and commentators say he should be playing more.
I think when he has played, he's done well. I think obviously when you sign a player in front of you for £40 million, you're thinking
sure.
maybe my time might be up here, but he's never moaned, he's never not performed when he's been put in. And you're always complaining about players being too tired when the World Cup comes around. You're hoping that Scotland's captain will be ready to go, and I'm sure he's looking forward to it.
Yeah, I saw his comments the other day, and he doesn't want to be back up. He's been good enough to enjoy an amazing level of success. As he said himself, he wants to play, and I'm sure he would have no shortage of offers.
0808 17 17 700. We're back in a moment.
Show with Burger King.
Tomorrow night, Charlie Mulgrew will be with us. We'll be keeping you right up to date with Bologna against Celtic, and we'll be leading up to the Rangers kick-off against Ludogorets. And we'll also be looking towards the weekend when it's back to the full SPFL action. Livy and St Mirren got back in action last night, 1-1. Gogic's goal right at the end, and Livy very unhappy with the decision that they didn't get for a pull and a push in the box. This weekend, Aberdeen against Livingston, Dundee United St Mirren, Falkirk against Hibs, and Motherwell against Kilmarnock. And then Sunday, Hearts against Celtic, 3 o'clock match of the weekend. And Rangers against Dundee. Rangers will see two of the three new signings, you would imagine, including Skov Olsen. In fact, James McPake's going to join us tomorrow night along with Charlie. Thank you for that, James. So tomorrow night's programme. Brilliant time of the season, Jamie, isn't it? That where it's all to play for. And in the Championship as well, Ayr still up there, but at the top of the table, St Johnstone, followed by Partick Thistle.
Yeah, I think the league table shows they've been the two best teams so far this year. I think ourselves and a couple of others are pushing to get as high as we can. I think there's a big couple of months now between where we are and the end of the season and the playoffs. We know it's difficult to get up through the playoffs, but that doesn't stop everyone trying every year. You've seen it last year with Livingston making it through.
Of course, yeah, they surprised just about everybody. This weekend, Andy, there's so much attention on the big two. Can I mention Motherwell against Kilmarnock to you? Not least because Motherwell, what a run they are on. But Kilmarnock, with Neil McCann there, Billy Dodds, we know them well. It's going to be a tough game. What do you think about the Kilmarnock appointment? They were unlucky. Well, not unlucky. They lost a late goal. It was a bit of a blunder right at the end out the cup.
Yeah, I've known Neil for so long. Yeah. I've always had that feeling that he's wanted to get back involved at a good club. He's at a good club there, but when you think they've played 22 league games and they've only won 2, I think it tells you that it's a team that are... they're short on quality, clearly. When you've only won 2 out of the 22, and it's 5 points of a gap between them and St Mirren. I think Dundee are out of reach, and Dundee will pick up a few more points, I'm sure. So I think the bottom 2, I would say they're going to be the bottom 2. Whoever finishes bottom, I'm not sure. If you're to ask me now, I think Livingston will finish bottom, and I think Kilmarnock will be second bottom.
Because I think we all underestimated the job that Elvis would do there, Stephen Presley at Dundee. We'll come back to them in a moment. Jamie, what are you thinking? Motherwell against Kilmarnock this weekend?
You can't see past a win for Motherwell. Right. I think Motherwell on form, Kilmarnock not on form. I know there's a new manager and Neil McCann at Kilmarnock, who I think will do better than the previous manager, but I think it's too much to ask to go away to Fir Park and win.
Scoreline, what do you feel?
I'll go for a 2-0 Motherwell.
Just get ready for the score predictor with Sheffield Timber. You could win £1,000, so you're going 2-0 to the Well. Maswanhise, will he still be there? Well, we'll let you know every night. He's still, I think, on the radar, maybe, although Celtic have got the new striker coming in on loan. Andy, what do you think? The Well against...
I'm going for a home win as well. Right. I think I'm going for a 3-1 scoreline, but just been so impressed with Motherwell this season, especially their home form, that surface. I think the players all love it. And Kilmarnock just struggling, and it's hard to see where they're going to pick up a lot of points. But they will look at Fir Park as being one where, the disappointment of going out the cup last weekend, and now they have to focus on league form and be better, but I just think Motherwell have got too much.
At Motherwell, they won't want to lose Maswanhise, and they certainly won't want to lose their manager, Jens Bertel Askew. I see he's been mentioned. Football Insider are suggesting he could be a target for Celtic for next season as manager.
I think he'll be a target for someone because he's made a name for himself at a club with really modest resources, not just the fact that he's got them in a comfortable league position. It's the fact that his team are playing really good football. You speak to any Motherwell season ticket holder, they can't wait to get along to the games. They are being entertained every week, and even when the results don't go against them, they're playing really well. So you're certainly getting value for money at Fir Park.
Yeah, Hugh was on last night, a big Motherwell fan, speaking about the success so far this season. What about Falkirk against Hibs? We did mention in the first hour that John McGlynn could be a target of Aberdeen. I'm not sure that he would go, given what he's doing at Falkirk, but who knows? Jamie, what are you thinking? Falkirk against the Highbees?
I've went for one each on that one. Right. I think Falkirk have done great. They're a really good side. They play good football, but Hibs are obviously also a good side. I think they're slightly different in the way they play. The back five, they're hard to play against, difficult to beat. So I think that's why I've went for a draw.
Yeah, I've gone for a score draw as well. I think 2-2. Falkirk 5 points behind, Hibs just above them. So if they do drop points, Motherwell could take advantage, being a couple of points in front of Hibs and beyond that, the coattails of the top three.
Andy, Aberdeen against Livingston.
I'm going for a home win.
Yeah.
I think Aberdeen will be able to come good. I know that they are, out of the last 6 games, they're the team that have got the least amount of points. They've only got 1 point in their last 6 league games, but I think they can get back to winning ways against Livingston.
And Olusanya could be on the way to Pittodrie. That was the news overnight.
A good striker that obviously done well in the SPL last season. I don't know how it's went for him in America. I know he's maybe had a couple of loans here and there, but if you can get him firing, it would be great for Aberdeen for the rest of the season.
Are they going to win, do you think, at the weekend?
I think Aberdeen will win. I went for 2-0.
And Dundee United St Mirren, you mentioned earlier on you were there at the weekend.
Yeah, well, as I said earlier on, St Mirren maybe get that bounce back from the last minute equaliser the other day, so I've went for 1-0 St Mirren.
Andy?
I'm going to go for a score draw, 1-1.
Okay. And then Sunday, the big games where it's winding up before that. But of course, Celtic tomorrow night and Rangers play first, so it's always difficult to say exactly what you think is going to happen. There could be injuries or whatever. Who will Celtic have in the building? Rangers Dundee obviously would be favourites on that one. For Ludogorets tomorrow night, what do you think, Jamie? The Rangers lineup changed so much at the weekend. The manager was speaking today and he said, look, it's important we keep this winning run going.
At first we enjoyed have 6 wins in a row. This is fantastic. The other part is we have to value every win. I think this is also important because there was not long ago a time where a win was not normal for us. I think this is great at the moment to see this run, and we want to continue this run, and this is also the reason why we go tomorrow with a strong 11 in this game, and then hopefully we can continue on the weekend, because on the weekend we know could be a good day, but we have to do our homework. It's not at the moment a time where to look what happens left or right. I think with all the topics we have to focus on our own, take the points, make the right decisions, and if we do our job right, then we're in a good way.
And he spoke today about the opposition, Ludogorets.
I think it's a competition where we have not won so far. I think this is tomorrow our challenge. We want to win the first game in this competition. I think it's also important. We want to keep the momentum. I think win is a win. Doesn't matter which competition. Yeah, we will face our opponent. They will play football. They try something. They have a clear structure. Sometimes they press high. Sometimes they will also wait in a deeper block. 4-4-2, what we saw so far. It's about us. I think it's also for us a good challenge again on this level in this competition to show where we are at the moment. This week, with all the 3 signings on the pitch, you saw, good quality. I think the competition is there, the challenge is there. It's unfortunately not possible to take them tomorrow. That is a little bit more for me. Manage all the players for tomorrow and then on Sunday. I think in some parts of the training we trained this week for both games with maybe the nearly starting 11 for both games. Let's see. But all in all, I think it was a good week. Also from the energy level, we look sharp, and this is what we want to see tomorrow.
Jamie, what do you think the Rangers fans are going to see tomorrow night?
I think they'll see a win for Rangers. I think with the game being against Dundee at the weekend at home, one they should win. It gives Danny Røhl a chance to maybe play a stronger team than if it was a more difficult game, shall we say. But I think Rangers have played better teams at Ibrox and won in the Europe in the last couple of seasons, so I think they'll go out and win that one.
Going for a win, you reckon, tomorrow night? Andy, what do you feel?
Yeah, I think Rangers can get a win as well. They haven't managed to get any victories yet in the 6 games that they've played, just the 1 point that they've picked up, but I think they can get a wee bit of respectability back and get a win over Ludogorets.
Celtic are over for Bologna back here. They've agreed a deal to sign the Borussia Mönchengladbach striker Tomas Čvančara. So, what about tomorrow night? He'll obviously not be there, but he will for Tynecastle. Andy, what do you reckon? Bologna?
I think it's going to be difficult. And in all honesty, I think the game on Sunday is more important. And I think the players that Martin is talking about, maybe they'll be in time for Sunday. You certainly hope so. But no, I think when you look at Bologna, they're in 13th spot in the league. They've won half of their games, and they've only lost 1. So they've got ambitions of being in that top 8 to give them automatic qualification. And with a home game, I think they might be able to win it.
I think it's going to be the Italians. What do you reckon, Jamie? Scoreline?
I think Celtic would probably bite your hand off for a draw in that game, particularly with the game coming up on Sunday. I think if they do get the draw, they've still got 1 game left to get that win that they need to keep them in the top 24 and get them through.
Jamie, thanks so much. Good luck this weekend, and hopefully you're back soon.
Thanks
Andy, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul. Always a pleasure.
We'll be here tomorrow night from 5. Charlie McGrew will be here along with James McPake. Have a great night.